My favorite story from my childhood is Curious George. Curious George was a monkey who tended to get into a little bit of trouble because he was curious. He liked to look at things, he liked to play with things, he liked to touch things, and my mom always said that I reminded her of Curious George. Not because I look like a monkey or have big ears or anything like that, but because I always was getting into trouble, because I was always curious and always checking out new things, and I tended to break things sometimes. But I like that story so much because it sort of reminded me of me.
When I was a child, some of my favorite stories were stories that were focused on American history and facts from history. And one of my favorite stories was a story called Benjamin and Me, which was about Benjamin Franklin, an American inventor and famous American, and a mouse who lived in his workplace. And the mouse would come and visit him, and they'd talk about the inventions that Benjamin Franklin was working on at the time. And I loved that story, partly because I learned a lot about history in the story, but also there was an element of fantasy to it with the talking mouse that I thought was pretty entertaining.
I enjoy the stories that my grandmother told me about her childhood and growing up in South Africa in the late 1800s and the early 1920s. I feel that these stories shaped me today and helped me to appreciate everything that we have right now, and also made me very grateful for everything that I am able to do today and how far we have come as people.
My favorite stories as a child were the storybooks that went along with Disney movies, with princesses and princes and mystery tales and songs, and I would always fall asleep singing those songs after my mother would read me the stories to the books.